Today we're moving into the last section of our unit. It's 4.4, day 1 today. And last time, at the end of 4.3, we talked a little bit about the unit circle, and I want to come back to that a little bit. We mentioned that the unit circle is going to be constructed basically of our two special right triangles. One of those right triangles being the 45, 45, 90. So if we label those sides, remember we get square root of 2 over 2 for the legs and 1 for the 45, 45, 90. Now we also had the other special triangle was our 30, 60, 90. So we've got 30 and 60, and this is 90. If that's the case, our sides are going to be represented as 1/2 square root of 3 over 2 and 1. So the important thing about the unit circle again is that the hypotenuse, or the radius, is always going to be equal to 1, and that's going to be positive no matter where you go around this circle. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to start to fill in some of the coordinates in this circle using these right triangles. Now let's start with, just the first quadrant and going up here. Now this point right here is kind of our starting place for any angle. That's the 0 angle in radians or degrees, and we want to establish a point with that. So we know that the radius is 1. That means that if we go 1 unit over on the x-axis, that this is going to be at the point 1, 0. So 1, 0 is where we start. Now we're just going to move all the way around here, and again, it's important that each one of these has a radius of 1, and so we're going to be using our special right triangles for that. Now the ones that we've talked about the quadrantal angles before. We actually did some sine, cosine, tangent with that sort of stuff. So that was one of them right here, the 1, 0. If we go to 90, since that's 1 away from the on the vertical axis from the origin, that's actually going to be at the point 0, 1. Then we can go over to the negative side. This one will be negative 1, 0. And then down here will be 0, negative 1. So those are the basic points maybe that we put in first. The other points that we need to construct are the ones based on the 30, the 45, and the 60-degree angles. Let's start just right at the beginning, the 30-degree angle. Now if I were to put this triangle, if I were to just kind of superimpose it on the circle, then what I would have here is this side would have a length of 1/2, and then my other leg, this one right here, would have a length of square root of 3 over 2. What that does is it tells us the coordinates of this point here at pi over 6. So the x value is square root of 3 over 2, and the y value is 1/2. And so we put those in there as the 2 points, 2 values at that point. For the 45-degree angle, we're going to use the horizontal and the vertical for the x and y again, and so this one would end up being at the point square root of 2 over 2 for both coordinates. And then the last important one in the first quadrant is going to be this one right here at pi over 3. That's with our 60-degree angle, and so now we can kind of just reverse the 30-degree triangle, and so at this one we're talking with an x value of 1/2 and a y value of square root of 3 over 2. So those are our basic points. Now we're going to have those for each spot in this unit circle, but the nice thing is we don't have to go through and figure them all out again. We don't have to insert those triangles in every single one of them, because now it's just basically reflections. For instance, if I take this 1/2 square root of 3 over 2, I reflect it over and I get this point right here. Well, the only thing that changes is that the x value becomes a negative, so at that point we're talking negative 1/2 and square root of 3 over 2. We could then, just as an example, just to bring this all the way through, we could reflect this one over into the third quadrant to get it down here. If we do that, then the y value would become negative also, and so we would have negative 1/2 and negative square root of 3 over 2. And then just to follow this one the rest of the way, reflect that now over into the fourth quadrant. The x value is positive, but the y value would still be negative. So we get 1/2 negative square root of 3/2. And so we can do that with each and every one of these points that's in the first quadrant. I'm not going to take up more time here to do that for you, but on the next example, we'll show this thing fully completed. Now, if you go online and you look up unit circle, you'll see a million of these if you do an image search, and they'll have all the points in there for you. Now, you can certainly refer to this as you're doing problems in today's assignment, but I would just kind of ask you to think more about the triangles rather than memorizing the points around here. These are going to be helpful to us, but the triangles are the real thing that we need to memorize throughout this chapter and just adapt it to each quadrant. So that's the unit circle. We'll be using a lot more of it coming up here. And so we'll go on to the next example that'll have all the information filled in.